Hi, and congratulations on completing half of the course and moving into part two. We're going into week 5, which is creation, providence, and angels. But before we talk about this week, I want to talk a bit about 2 weeks from now, which is Thanksgiving week. I want to highly encourage you to work ahead, completing week 5 as quickly as possible and getting a strong head start into week 6. As I know, many of us will be traveling, visiting family, and preparing for Christmas. So I don't want to see you fall behind. So try to work ahead, especially if you have other obligations in week 6, so that you won't feel the pressure of having completed Thanksgiving but not completed week 6. So with that in mind, let's jump into next week, which is week 5, creation, providence, and angels. Now, our goals for this week are to demonstrate comprehension of the historical debates over creation and providence, to articulate a personal position on the doctrine of providence, to formulate biblical answers to the problems of evil, and to explain current interest in angels and spiritual warfare and articulate a personal position on the issue. And we'll do that in one of the discussion posts. With that in mind, we have one assignment and one discussion post this week. On our assignment, in 2 to 3 pages, summarize your understanding of the biblical teaching on providence, focusing on the question, is God in total control of all things? Now, I think for many of us, the answer is, well, of course he is. Well, but if you go down that road, if God is in control of all things, then what can mankind be in control of? And if you answer, well, there are things that mankind is in control of, then God's not in control of all things. So it's a really difficult theological question. So is God in control of all things, or does God exercise partial control over events in the world? It's a theological question. It requires both prayerful thought and research. It requires biblical research, and it definitely requires engagement with Erickson and other systematic theology texts. So in a short paper like this, you will need to focus on key issues and arguments. Be sure to respond to at least one strong argument from the opposing side of the debate. And I'll be grading that strictly. So I am wanting to see which of the two you choose. God's in control of everything, or God can exercise control over everything but chooses not to in all occasions. And so whichever side you pick, you need to find a good, solid foil for you to discuss the other side of that argument and why you feel the other side of the argument is less convincing. In the last paragraph of your paper, describe at least 2 specific practical implications of your view for Christian life and practice. So I'm wanting personal reflection, discussing how your choice impacts modern Christian life. What are the emphases, and we're continuing with assignment 5.1, what are the emphases in discussions for spiritual warfare? Is the practice of spiritual warfare sufficiently biblical and theologically sound? So I'm looking for some biblical discussion with support. Are there ways in which spiritual warfare is not taken seriously enough? And include several suggestions for practical steps that can be taken in ministry contexts to ensure that a biblically balanced approach to spiritual warfare is maintained. So in this short paper, you're going to have to be really focused to be able to include solid academic support and discuss each of the questions. In our discussion post, you have 2 options. What is the relationship between the doctrine of creation and other doctrines? So you're going to be focusing on the doctrine of creation, but then you're going to be saying, how does the doctrine of creation impact our understanding of the Trinity? How does the doctrine of creation impact our idea of the last things, or eschatology? How does it impact sin and salvation, humanity, and doctrines more closely linked to creation, like God's preservation and governance of the universe? So you're using the doctrine of creation as your core, and then you're impacting other theological ideas like eschatology, Trinity, sin, and salvation. Explore several areas, if possible, and what is the practical significance of being able to link creation to these other doctrines. And I think that second part is our key here, is that, so what is the link between creation and Trinity, and not just what is the link, but why is that link important for us as Christians to understand? Option 2 is to reflect on how the debate about providence is normally carried out in churches or academic contexts. And that's the distinction between Calvinism and Arminianism as we look at providence. Those two more evangelical ideas are the two conflicting points. So look up Calvinism, look up Arminianism, especially as it applies to providence. So what are the points most often focused upon? Which points are sometimes ignored or misrepresented? And do these discussions generally shed more heat than light? And what are some practical steps we can take of general observations we might take or might make that would help improve the quality of these debates? So to be able to do discussion post 2, I think as an excellent post, you need to at least explore what is Calvinism, or what is Calvin's view on providence, and what is Arminius's view on providence, and how do their theological positions differ. Then move into the idea of using support. How does each view impact the modern church, and where do you stand on the idea of providence? As always in this course, week 7 is coming closely. It's going to be the week after Thanksgiving. So if you have fallen behind on the week 7 assignment, which is where you're summarizing your theological position for each of our weeks, I would encourage you to get going this week as much as possible. I have a bird over on my left who's singing to you guys. As always, email me or call me with any questions. And do not forget that Thanksgiving is week after next. So work ahead and make sure you are prepared so you're not caught off guard. Have a great week. I look forward to finishing up the grading on your week 4 assignments. And it's kind of fun to be on the back side of this course now, the last 4 weeks, where we can take everything that we learned in the first 4 weeks and begin to apply it to the modern Christian life. Have a great day.